haven't even tried to do live feeds since they blocked me from doing them.
I'm trying not to do as many on this one because they just keep blocking my accounts and everything, and as soon as they find out about that phone and they find that phone's like, I finished a bit.
I don't think I've had anything that I've really felt compelled to say publicly since they blocked me off there.
I'm taking everything YouTube at the minute. We've got all the teamers even agreed. We've been working on it for the last 3 weeks, to be honest, taking everything to YouTube, and we've got 4 different courses already linked on it as well. Yours would be the 5th one that's already linked on it. Just waiting for Bobby and Joseph Blair to finish their break, and then they'll be on it as well. Oh, we've got people on already. Guys, keep sharing. We're with Sharon Binks.
Hello.
We're just having a natter while everyone catches up and gets on board. So don't forget to share.
Yeah, it's a bit impromptu. We just decided. Well, we've got the opportunity. We've sat together. It's just nicer, isn't it, having a conversation without on the phones. I hate technology. But
it's what's needed as well, because this is how you get to know each other. This is how you get to know where the person comes from, what the motives are, what their aim is, what their focus is. And it also helps network and build a bond and a network and support. I mean, the last few days I wouldn't have coped without you and the rest of everyone else that's pulled through, and I really wasn't expecting the response that I got, to be honest.
You just have to, I mean, there are people have got your back, you know what I mean? If you're doing the right thing, people have got your back, and the right people have got your back. And you've just got to accept that people are entitled to their opinions, and their opinion of you is none of your business. At the end of the day, it's theirs, and if they want to put out bad karma, bad, negative energy, then that's what they're going to get back. But you don't have to get involved in that, because
you know not to do.
You build your wall, and you rise above it, and you look down on that and think, no, I'm not getting that. I'm not going down there. You know what I mean? Because you've got more reason than anybody to fight the causes you're fighting. So, and raise awareness and shine a light on what's going on. Personal experience has led you to that. As with all the truthers, really, there's always something in the background. So everybody's got a story, but it's unfortunate that some people use the situations and other people's situations to discredit or dishonour or, jealousies, all those negative emotions that come from 3D living and ego, destroy what the light workers, as I see them, are trying to do, which is shine a light on all the shit.
And this is the side of it as well that other people, like everyone watching the minute, don't understand, as well as they don't understand what it actually does to the person as well, because at the end of the day, we've all got a focus and we've all got an aim of why we come there. We've all got, like you said, your grandchildren are your aim, my kids being parents and my aim. Everyone's got a goal and an aim which brings us together and unites us. But when you've got people gnawing away, nitpicking at things that either don't exist or have been escalated way out of proportion, or they're not even involved in any way, so they don't actually know what's gone on anyway.
Well, I look at the people who have lived it, have learned from it, and are using it to open people's eyes, to make a difference in the world, and to prevent any more of the shit happening wherever they can. And, there's certain people out there, they know who they are, that I trust and honour and completely respect, and you're one of them, because I know your story right from the start. So
you're the first person to interview me.
It's like, we have to reach out and connect the light workers up, just to shine those lights, because those that keep trying to put you back in the dark, those that try to put shadows over you, bring up shit from the past, whatever it is, right? Everyone's got a personal life, and when people start bringing that into the cause, they're just discrediting themselves, really, and that's a person I'm not going to trust. I look at what people do, not what they say, and if their actions are either ego-driven or compassionately driven, or most of them are personal story-driven. So no, there's very few people that I would trust, really. There's loads of people. I've met some fantastic people, and on the journey, because we've done loads of demos, and I've tried to support everybody and hope that they would all support back, because at the end of the day, our cause is the children, no matter what form that comes in, no matter what safety net we can provide, or by opening people's eyes and making them aware. That's all we can do, isn't it?
Even the route we take as well, in how we fight the system, we fight it together, but we
dignity,
fight it differently.
Integrity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
problem that everyone's having at the minute, and obviously I'm one of them, is narcissists in the cars and in personal lives, and trying to distinguish the narcissists. And obviously when you've got narcissists that use personal connections to tie you into it, whether it's from the cause or what, it's something that's it's an ugly thing, really, to see a narcissist, isn't there? And it's trying to figure out and work out which ones they are and how to spot them and how to learn from it. That's what you've been talking to me about a lot today.
Yeah, I've learnt a lot about narcissists. And for those of you that don't know what we mean by narcissists, it's those ego-driven that they want the limelight, they want the fame and fortune, and then use other people's misery to get there. They're not concerned about how other people feel or what damage they're doing. They're only concerned in how they can benefit from it or get their narcissistic supply.
How they look at the end of it, and how many people that can believe the stories and twist on.
Yeah, a narcissist will always try to discredit somebody that's got respect, because it doesn't sit with their need to be the best at everything. Do you know what I mean?
It's a challenge, it's a competition, which it shouldn't be, which it's not meant to be, especially not if you're part of the cause. It shouldn't be a challenge. We should be able to, if we don't get along, not speak. If we do get along, speak.
Yeah.
But regardless of which, we should be able to stand side by side without people getting involved and twisting and manipulating things to make something more than it is, especially out of matters that have already been resolved. There's also the issue with attention seekers as well, with getting in the middle of everything and then putting their words to other people's names. And
you'll know who those are because they do a lot of talking, and you know, a lot of them are very good at it, but when you look at what they've actually done for the bigger cause, for the good of all, there's not an awful lot. So future proofs past, in the sense that if you get a feeling about somebody and you wonder where they stand or what motivates them, you look at what they do, and if they're doing it for the good of themselves, their ego, or they're doing it for the good of all. If they're doing it for the good of all, they'll be out there opening people's eyes, passing on messages, doing research, sharing what they know so that they can protect the next generation. Because no matter what it is, whether it's vaccines, whether it's 5G, whether it's child abuse, whether it's forced adoption, whatever it is, it's that child that's at the centre of that. Yeah. And the harm that can be done to that child, and the harm that can be done to the whole of humanity if they get their way with, you know,
their agenda.
Yeah. So you have to look at those people who are playing the game for them and creating divide and conquer and creating the fear, and stay the hell away from them. To be honest, don't buy into any of the shit, don't get involved in it, don't get drawn into it, just keep telling the truth, because the truth is the truth, it's the truth. It's like, you know.
Do you think you can distinguish if you expose, for example, a social worker narcissist or a campaigner narcissist or a personal relative or friend narcissist? Is there a difference between exposing any one of them if there's no...
Well, I think that who they cling on to, because they want to be at they don't want to build a way up by their actions. They just want to start at the top. So they cling on to people who are in the limelight. They cling on to somebody that is doing the honourable thing and like kind of as far as on the demos and stuff, they want a piece of the action, and very quickly a lot of them start asking for money. I think I personally don't. We've never done it with our stuff, you know. We've never asked for donations. We've never asked for anything, because I think that you then open yourself up to criticism, for one. Not that I mind being criticised for what I do, but it won't be for asking for money for anything. If I want to get to a demo and I'm passionate enough, you know, things just happen to help you get there, because if you're meant to be there, you will be. Like hell and high water, do you know what I mean? But I've been fortunate, I've got my angels looking after So I've been up and down the country and supporting everybody and just seeing how things operate. And the sad thing is I've seen a lot of things being destroyed by the narcissist that you know, we need people that are confident and ego-driven enough to set something up and to start something, but not narcissistic enough to want to be idolised as the main person, and then you kind of have a following. I'd rather see people spread that around and share it around so that everybody's doing their bit in their area.
Yeah.
And it's not all down to somebody.
I think there is though a difference between asking for money under a cause's name, under false intentions, asking money for that and then spending it on your own personal thing, and then telling people exactly what it is that you're asking for and being willing and able to prove it. If you're putting that money into
physical things like a speaker system, so that you can get the word out there more, banners, flyers, things like that, so that you can promote what you're trying to promote and get the word out there. That's your motivation, that's your goal. And most of us can't get a job because we're targeted. We're enemies of the state, enemies of the establishment, the government haters. So we can't just go into any job and earn a living and do whatever. So there's times when, you know, but let the public decide, because it's like John Lawrence. He needed equipment, right? And he's done his bit. He's earned that by going around and doing what he's done.
And he's not lied about what he needed the money for. He needed it for equipment to
and
bring
if people are happy to donate that money, that's fine. I have a problem with people quickly coming onto the scene and then you think, well, what are you actually doing? But as I was saying to you before about the Footballers Alliance, I was like, yeah, the footballers have come out, and then, you know, the guy got discredited because of money, and it all fell to shit, and then the DFLA, and then there was conflict, and it's divide and conquer again, and you go, oh no, not again. And even now, with these groups, like your group, my group, whatever, there's divide and conquer, and we're doing it to each other. Yeah. And that is down to me, for me, it's down to an ego. The ego is, why, you know that person's story, so...
Why use it against them?
Yeah.
To fuel your own means, just to keep going in that around in that one circle.
Yeah.
Especially when one's trying to move past and carry on the fight, carry on doing their own personal fight.
I might not like people on the circuit. It's like I might have my own reasons. Not many people I don't like, but if I don't like somebody but they're doing the right thing or they're doing their bit, which all builds to one big picture, then I will give that person the respect they deserve for getting out there and doing their bit. But it doesn't mean I have to agree with the lifestyle. It doesn't mean I have to agree with what they do or how they carry on or who they associate with. I'll give them the credit they deserve for what they're doing, because that's all that's important to me. I'm not in it to make friends or, you know...
we've had this conversation before, and obviously I told you about the personal issues I've been having, and I applaud everyone for their actions, including the ones that are out personally attacking me. I still applaud their actions, because their actions were amazing. They made my day amazing just by stepping up to the plate. Yeah. It was unfortunate it turned out the way that it did, but I'll still continue to applaud their actions, because just because I may not have liked the outcome of it doesn't change the fact of what they did, and I respect that. Yeah. And it's just because some people don't get along, you can respect each other's fight, respect each other's opinions, but
just stay away from them.
It's when narcissists get involved as well, and that's when
you start twisting them, because they need the supply, they need to be causing problems, they need that, they have a need for this narcissistic supply. So when they see, what narcissists love to do is control people's emotions. So when they can see that they're affecting you in emotionally, then that feeds that supply, and it's what they thrive on. And to me, they're doing the devil's work. But the angels have to find the strength to understand what they're doing and block it, you know. So.
No, I was just checking. I was wondering if speakers or anything were working on it then.
Is there any comments?
Yeah, we've got a couple. Betty says, keep up the good fight. Brian saying hi. Kerry Ann, who's new, is on. So we've only got a couple of comments at the minute, but it's alright because it's going on YouTube after. I don't have many people on this channel because it's new again. It's still on Families Destroyed by the State, so if everyone keeps sharing, we can get more back on.
Yeah.
But because it's a new channel, it's...
You said about the narcissist social workers.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that we all know. Everyone who comes to Families Destroyed by the State, or most people come to Families Destroyed by the State, know and learn for even themselves or through coming to it that social workers are narcissists. So we've all met narcissists and we've all know what narcissists do and act, but it's trying to figure out the narcissist away from the professional as well as the narcissist in the professional.
The narcissist social workers, they will just have to win. They have to win at all costs. So they will lie in court, they'll do whatever it takes. They'll pull other people in, they'll get members of, they'll pull in people to interview that serves their purpose. They'll ignore those people that serve your purpose.
Start targeting anyone who's defending the person who you're trying to take down.
They will dig as far into your past or your parents' past or your family's past or your association's past to find something to hold against you so that they can win, and you've got no chance against them because they've got the establishment on their side, because they manipulate and bully other people.
And they've only got to doing the job they've got, doing what they're doing, being how they are.
Yeah. I don't think the empathic social workers last long in the child snatching team.
No, they don't.
And I'm calling it that now because I do know of a girl, real life story, who was doing a social work training, and for her interview for a placement had to role play taking a child at birth. And now the problem I have is that a lot of these parents, especially those that split up from the narcissist, they go through some trauma when they're finally free, because that's when they can start rebuilding themselves, but they go through the tower moment, the trauma of actually breaking free. They're free then to deal with that, because when you're in that relationship you can't really deal with it. So they have a bit of a meltdown in a lot of cases, and I've spoken to a lot of parents who this has happened to, and it might resonate with some people, but they break free of the narcissist, and they've been the parent for them children for 20 years, and they finally get free, and so the narcissist has to continue the control. So they bully, they manipulate, they threaten, and then they take the children, or they get the children somehow by destroying sorry, while that parent that is going through the trauma of recovery, they pick them apart and they report them to the social services. Not, they've maybe started drinking a bit too much, or they're just trying to deal with shit. But nobody's coming in to help them. And if the partner, the narcissist, reports them to the social worker, then they go around, they see that the mother's in a bit of a state, she thinks, oh well, I'll get some help. So they offload to the social worker or whoever's come round to check on her. They then make a note of that, oh, she's unstable, she's drinking, and then they put a list of all these things against her, because they're going to, the narcissist is very good at sweet talking, as you know.
Yeah.
So they start building a list or an agenda against that parent, and all of a sudden something happens, and like for example one of them, it steps up as well when the parent that's got free gets a new relationship, because the narcissist will step up their attacks, and a few cases I'm bringing to mind. And so then they end up getting the children, they've fallen out, had an argument with the boyfriend or something, so they've reported it as this massive thing. The kids have ended up with the dad. The mother can't just go get them back. And the ex might have a criminal record for stalking, abuse, whatever, domestic abuse, as long as you're out. And the mother's nothing. And still the kids are left in that care. Because sometimes the father will be able to take them to court and fund that. So therefore the social workers are on side.
Social workers also use analysis to get the kids, because in my case, in regards to my son, they hunted Liam's biological dad down, even though they knew that he had a 26-page on criminal record. They knew what he did to me. They knew about him selling me and about me kidnapping me from.
And he hadn't even had any.
He hadn't had any contact with Liam, anything since I got away from him. And Social went and hunted him down, and because he gave them what they couldn't find anywhere else, which was just him slagging me off to high hell.
And that's an example of a social worker working against the best interest of the child. And what these parents need at that point is some acknowledgement. And I can't understand. Well, they're not trained to care about this stuff, and especially the narcissists, they don't care anyway. But when you see the parent there and you have any understanding of family dynamics or relationship dynamics, or whatever, which they all should be trained in, is that that person is going through the trauma of freeing themselves. And, you know, we often have to be in a safe space to deal with it.
Well,
the brain shuts off from it until you're in that safe space, and then it lets you off it.
They got me after I got in my safe space, because I got away from my son's dad when I was pregnant with him, and I got back to Germany. I'd moved back here. I'd gone to social services, pre-warned them about it, said any issues and that if he turns up and everything, they'll help me sort it out, so there'd be a restraining order. Moved in this house, and I just got to a point where I was free. I was safe. I could be a mum. I could raise my kid. But they'd waited till I just found my feet. I was going to college. My son was in nursery. I was working. I had my own job. I had my own business and everything. And that's when they went, and that's when they got him. And because he slagged me off to high hell, and no one else that they spoke to could say a bad word about me, because I didn't drink. I didn't do drugs. I was a military kid, so I had routine and regimen and behaviour. I studied to work with kids as well, so it's not something that it was new to me. I raised my cousins growing up, because I was the eldest of 6. And my brother as well. And when we put ourselves in, I put me and my son in a mother and baby unit in Germany, so we could basically learn to stand on our own 2 feet, because I was living with my mum prior to that. And that's when, because they couldn't get him anywhere else, they started slagging my gran off. They started, when she was going through her assessments to see if she could take the kids, they started slagging off her age. They started saying that because when her eldest was younger, she smacked him on the bottom, not full on, but tapped him on the bottom with a nappy on. That was the only incident that she could remember or that she's ever done, either way. And they started calling her a child abuser. They started saying that because my dad said that if he was on his last whatever, and his kids needed something and Liam needed something, who'd come first? I said if it was absolutely dire, my kids would come first, because Katie would step in and sort the other one out. But they left in she'd step in and she'd sort the other lot out. Because I would have done, obviously, I'd have thrown the money in, so then you wouldn't have had to worry about having to choose between one lot of kids. Because I'd be doing everything to just do anything for my kid, whether he's with me or not. My daddy's in the military. My stepdaddy's in the military. He did me references and everything. I had nursery references, everything, but it didn't matter, because all they needed was someone to slag me off, willing to come into court, who's fully attached to my kids, whether they contact them or not through blood. It's relative enough for them to come in and slag me off. And a lot of people don't understand is that is a statement. It's not just any statement in a family court. A family court, that is evidence. That is hard evidence.
The family court's the only court where you can lose everything without ever committing a crime.
Yeah. You can end up with a life sentence of torture.
Well, I know how they operate on a smaller scale, and you know, and my heart goes out to every parent that's gone through what you've gone through, because you know. But when they wanted to get rid of me, they ignored my personal circumstances, what I was going through at the time, and I was going through post-traumatic stress at the time. I've had it, you know, confirmed, if you like. But they didn't want to know about that. They didn't want to speak to the people that could give balance to their evidence. They just wanted to gather as much evidence as possible against me, and you know, pulling people out of the woodwork to get the information that they wanted to, as they decided I wasn't fit for purpose and they wanted my job. But obviously it's been a good thing. So thanks to North Yorkshire. you know, you set me on my goals to, on my cause, on my journey. So, yeah, I couldn't have worked within that establishment much longer anyway. I'd not seen what things, you know, the things that were happening. But yeah, they use that process against parents where even the people that will give you positive evidence, they'll rule out, they'll miss out.
I had
they even changed the chronology on my evidence to make it look like I was lying. And I pointed out I had evidence myself and they still put it in, even though it was hearsay. What they first put in, I proved it was hearsay, and he'd even said he couldn't remember, but yet they still used that date instead of the date that I gave them for the turn of events, which was the period from May to August.
They did a similar thing with me. They tried changing the dates from my late fiance, who passed away before my son was even born, who I've got obviously the date of when he passed away on my arm. And then, train of thought just went completely then.
Changing dates.
Yes, changing dates. Because they were trying to say that, because they'd asked me and my daughter's dad to stay away from each other for value, like they do, to separate the parents. And they tried saying that in the process of that separation we'd got engaged and all the rest of it. And when I was talking to my mental health worker months previous, that I was actually talking about my daughter's dad. And they didn't like or accept the fact that, hang on a minute, I've got the date tattooed on my arm.
Yeah.
It's not something that I'm going to go, let me think of it quick and tattoo it in and make it look like I've had it years.
Yeah. I'll tell you a case that a grandparent brought to me. She was going to contact to see her grandchildren, and the social worker wrote that she was an abduction risk, right? So that's why they cut the contact while it was supervised, and then they cut it. Said she was an abduction risk, a flight risk, and that's why they ruled her out for taking the children. And because when she'd gone to the contact centre, her friend had videoed her going into the contact centre to meet the children, the social worker had lied and said she was trying to take them away from the contact centre. So when she went into court, the judge, instead of seeing that the social worker had lied, they asked the grandparent, why did you take that video? And she said, well, I'm glad, I didn't take it, but I'm glad that my friend did, because it's just proved that she was lying. And if she hadn't had that video, but why have you taken the video? Not, you've lied.
I mean,
this is how corrupt it is.
The judge that we had, they were given evidence by loads of different people, multiple times. I mean, for the witnesses, I asked for my GP, health visitor and family support worker to come in. And her words exactly were, I will not have anyone in the court who isn't opposed to the children coming home.
What would you say to those that go, well, why would they steal children? Why are they removing your older child and putting him with the father, and to get access to your younger child who was a young enough age? What you tell people, because you know. You've looked at it, you know. I mean,
I've researched it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they went after my son at first when it was just him, and he was only about 2, just before he turned 2. They went after him, and they had the intention of adopting him out. And the same doctor that saw him the first day, because of obviously kids and bruises, and nursery worker restrained him, so they were looking for anything to cover their back and obviously.
I remember you telling me about that. She'd marked his neck, hadn't she?
No, his arms.
His arms.
It was his dad that marked his neck.
All right.
But to cover their own back, they called social services on there, so we went to doctors and everything, and obviously they did their child protection checks that they do. And they kept commenting the entire time of how close of a bond me and Liam had with each other. We didn't separate from each other, we were having a laugh with each other, giddy, having food, you know, blah blah blah, getting on with it. When it all was unchanged. But the main intention, I'm going into too much detail, the main intention of what they did and why they did it, the second time with Liam, like the first time it fell through because the doctor put in a report saying that he had been restrained by someone else, so they had nothing to take him on, so I got him back. The following month they found out about Krista, so it was game on again. I spent the entire time proving myself, doing courses, doing assessments.
That's what they get parents to do as well. They feed them a false line that jump through these hoops and you've got a chance of having your kids back. So these parents spend all this time stressing out because they're jumping through these hoops while trying to hold down a job at times. they're also dealing with the fact that the children aren't in the home anymore. They're dealing with the silence and the heartbreak of it, and the panic and the worrying. That affects them, how they behave. That all gets recorded and used against them, and this is all part of the how they destroy you, because they give you a little bit of hope, and you're jumping through hoops thinking, well, if I show them I can do this, and then you go to court and they go, no, sorry, and then they force an adoption, and then it's like game over. So what did a lot of these parents do? It's like, well, I can't live without my kids.
Exactly.
I mean, we have to hope that parents like you can carry on even from the darkest moments where you don't want to, right? Knowing that that's your situation.
Like you around.
But you need to, because it's you're opening people's eyes. You're the voice that everybody else is gagged from using. And if you don't speak, I know that's a burden on you, but you're going through this for a reason. There's always a purpose, and you've got the strength in you, and all of these people around you that are just trying to drag you down and accuse you and steal your energy and lower your vibration. You've just got to rise above it, because that's, I don't know why they're doing the devil's work, and
Yeah, but they do stoop to our levels of low, because with mine, like the day before they were due to drop everything.
Get out your ego and look at the bigger picture, because that's what's important. It's the bigger picture. It's for all.
Kids are losing their lives, not just in a physical manner, but also in an emotional and generational manner as well.
But while they're not losing, when they're not losing their lives, they're losing the liberties. They're losing the mind.
Yeah.
Through the education system, which
losing
is a whole other topic. Yeah. Because the Stasi camp academies that have set up are just, I mean, it's the big green fence around them, the prisons. They don't teach anything of value. In fact, they remove the child's values. They distort the moral compass. They kill the creativity.
And we've seen that they force in other countries, religions.
They're medicating more kids now than ever. My grandson came out of school with a vaccination form for a flu jab. And I went, why have you got another letter? Because the other one went, why have you got another letter? Because we didn't do it online. Well, I'm sorry, you're not getting it.
But last year, that's 2 years ago, it was up in all the doctors that only if you were pregnant or you were over the age of 60 you could get a flu jab, and now...
The doctors get paid for giving these... So a 7-year-old, he didn't fill the form in, well, because he's not filling...
And kids are going to be terrified by it. They're going to be put into a state of fear, thinking if they don't get it, they're going to end up ill.
I said, well, we're not filling this in, and he said, what's flu? I said, it's like a really bad cold. Well, I don't like having cold. I said, do you like having needles? And does it hurt? I said, well, the stuff that's in it might hurt you in the long shot there. I said, your body's designed to fight infections and build your immunity. That's what we do. The body's great for doing that. But when they stop it, that's when the problems start.
It's making us chemical dependent, I think, as well. Because with Liam...
It's the stuff that goes in these... I mean, all parents out there, just get the name of the vaccine.
You need to look at
vaccines. It out, see what else is in it, because... Frank from my daughter said no as well, but he will not be good.
And you can see the difference with just Liam as well, because Liam's only 6 now. Liam had 3 vaccines before he was 1, that's it. Christy had about 8 or 12 vaccines before she was 1. And it's like...
Parents are being forced by the courts to make they have the child
if you don't have your kids vaccinated now, your kids get taken automatically. If you use a food bank now...
Let's go through all the reasons why what they use to take your children.
Oh, sounds fun.
Right, if you've been in the care system, then you're not going to be a good parent, because they haven't helped you through the care system, so you have no skills to be a parent. So they're justified in taking your child because they're saving that child from abuse by putting them in a system that abused you. Yeah, that makes sense.
Abuse victims, so sexual abuse, physical abuse, domestic violence.
Yeah.
You can't be a parent because if you can't protect yourself, then when you didn't have kids and a reason to stand up for yourself and hadn't learned how to stand up for yourself, that means you cannot stand up for your kids, and you'll put your kids in that situation.
And somebody that's been abused will become an abuser.
That's the
by
the
statistics. But what they miss out in that bit is that most of those that have been abused, self-abuse, they abuse themselves until they find some self-worth and start loving themselves, which everybody needs to do unconditionally. You've been through the shit for a reason. Find your strength in it, find the lesson in it, and learn and grow, and find your sole purpose, because that's what it's all about.
Homeschooling, because if you're homeschooling them, they can't brainwash them and they can independently think.
Yeah, homeschooling. I mean, all you need to do really is write a letter to the school to say that I will, from this day on, I elect to homeschool my child. as it
What
was.
social services
But
target
now they're starting to target parents who do that as abusive, which you can't even take them away from the brainwashing camp that they call school.
School's hard for some kids as well. Some kids can't deal with the bullying and everything, which is why a lot of kids back when I was in school lost their lives.
The teachers are bullying the kids these days. I mean, teaching children about sex in primary school at the age of 6 is abuse.
I'm sorry.
The schools are abusing your children. You know, the child isn't allowed to call their body parts, you know, by the whatever pet name the parent might use, you know, to keep it a childlike thing. They now have to use the proper terms, which then inspires opens up the curiosity to, and it's sexualising children. And their agenda is to normalise paedophilia. So if they sexualise the child as young as possible, I mean, an 8-year-old apparently giving the advice or information to children that your body is private and nobody can touch it without consent. Now, in the eyes of the law, you can't give consent below the age of 16. So why are you teaching children that nobody can touch their body unless they give consent? Because they can't give consent. So they shouldn't be unless they give consent. It should be. It's a no. It's an absolute no.
It makes it normalises it to kids at that age as well, though.
And then at 12-year-old, they're teaching them how to masturbate. They're mixed classes and they're going through how you can enjoy masturbation and things. I mean, isn't that about teenagers?
That should be about between parents or GPs.
Yeah. When your child asks you about those things, as a parent, it's your job to be educated enough to tell them just enough information in their age-appropriate way for them to understand it.
It should not be a stranger introducing masturbation or sex to a kid
in a classroom. What is that all about?
With other kids, that's encouragement.
We can't teach Christian values, but we'll teach you how to play with yourself. Hey? You can't play with a friend. Oh, that's another one in primary school. They now want to integrate all the kids, right? So what they do is they tell them who they can play with on a break time so that they play with everybody. You can't have your own friends. You can't go, right, great, it's break, I can go spend time with my best mate. No, you've got to go play with that group or that group so that you integrate. Oh, and if you step out of line in the academy rules, you don't even get your break. So these kids have to sit there conforming, and they get sanctioned for speaking without putting their hand up.
Even adults who work have to, by law, have a break.
Yeah.
But
you're isolated. They get a break. They just have to do it in isolation with nobody to play with.
But that's to conform us to when we're adults for in work.
Oh, but you know what they said at the primary school? They were changing the primary school to an academy. My grandson was 5, and we whipped him out of there because they came from the academy village to the high school was an academy to explain to the parents that the purpose now of the education system in primary school was that they would teach them how to behave in secondary school and follow the rules.
Yeah.
So they had to follow the rules that they have in high school, so they would know what the rules were when they got there. Because if your child has special needs or special behaviour, then, you know, actually, if they go out and commit a crime, the police would treat them the same as anybody else. So actually, we're going to treat them the same, and they're all going to sit in the classes that everybody else has to sit in, without that special help, because they'll have to learn to conform. Those that can't conform will just end up with mental health problems. They'll end up feeling like they're stupid. They will not be taught in any way that
they'll end up being neglected by the system.
The whole idea of the different ways of learning, kinesthetic learning. You know, you can't sit behind a desk quietly watching the blackboard or watching whatever and take it in, because you do not learn that way. So where is the alternative? There isn't one. They even restricted how you can work out a maths problem. You know, they brought in a number line. The parents were no longer then able to help with math because they couldn't work out that way.
I remember when they did that with my brother, actually, because even I couldn't understand it, and maths is something I used to I was doing A-level maths at GCSE.
So what does that do to the parent-child relationship?
It tears it. It attacks it. More. And it also breaks down the community as well, because it stops children and teenagers being able to talk to adults, whether it's in the household, outside of the household. It struggles. But before we move on with school, because we can come back to that, food banks is another one.
Yeah. Universal credit.
Yes, universal credit is a massive one. But they are targeting food banks a lot at the minute as well. Their excuse at the minute is if you can't afford to live without a food bank, then you can't afford to have your kids.
Yeah.
But a lot of what people don't realise is a lot of reasons why people use the food bank
on universal credit.
Universal credit as well. Plus, it's the bit extra that they need so that they can put everything else into schooling and everything else, so that
instead of seeing it as it shows they're still feeding the kids, even if they have to swallow the pride and go to a food bank. Because when they started talking about food banks, I was like, what century? What happened? You know, have we just had a war? What's with the food banks? Like coming back with the old ration book? It's just to demoralise everybody, to get everybody so demoralised that
and dependent on the state as well.
That the government can come in and go, look, we've got a solution. Let's just control everybody.
That itself is only a target. They've done that as a targeted thing though, because if they didn't help the odd people here and there and actually help like the system's supposed to do, and be the system that some people need, then
like supporting parents going through a difficult time, understanding that the mental health problem they're going through, that can be helped if they support them in the right way. But there are no support services anymore like that. I was going in there and helping the family with proper advice and practical help.
There is a very
That's not happening anymore.
Because I've come across a couple of parents who've had a history of drug abuse, have had their kids taken off them, and then their social workers have actually worked with them and built up the kids going back. And you look at it and you think, oh, yeah, it's a sex story. But there's only one reason why the system's helped. And that's to discredit everyone who's outing them. So when everyone turns around and go, when you've done this with all of us, they've gone, yeah, well, this is our success story. We helped him, and this person will talk to everyone and praise us, and if you talk shit about us, and this person will do this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But it's strategically planned by the system. They'll take narcissists out of the situations where they want to look good and they want to look like they've helped, and they'll put the empathic ones in there and normal, everyday ones in there.
You just have to look at what happened to Carol Woods.
Exactly.
To see what happens to social workers that don't agree with the system. They haven't got a chance. And look at people like me who dare to speak about the rape of our children, and you it's like, well, you're going to destroy your life now, you'll never work again. And trying to find a job opened my eyes to how many voluntary services, to care services, to, you know, these independent companies that you think they are all funded by the government somewhere along the line. So you've got no chance because you've got a blacklist. When they're giving you a bad reference, nobody wants to take a chance on you because it's the government, and they don't want to lose their sponsorship, or they don't want to lose their whatever they're getting, or their clients, or
exactly. I mean, a lot of people don't realise as well, that's the other side of what happens to people like us that speak out about it. The side that they don't see about it is the side that we keep to ourselves because it's personal and it's private, and we're not after sympathy, we're not after brownie points. So but it was a trigger
for us to be doing what we're doing, and I think it is worthwhile because.
And it's one of the reasons why we'll talk as much as we do as well and get along with each other, because even though we've come from different causes, the system's tried shutting us up in so many different ways. They've gone after us in our personal private lives, made us vulnerable, made us even more of a target to everyone else. So the only thing we can do is not talk about it, not tell everyone, not bring everyone to awareness of it, because, and I still won't, even though I'm talking about it now, I will never go into detail about what they've done to anyone of us, because at the end of the day, it's one of the reasons why we fight like we do, one of the reasons why we're so focused and so stubborn and mindset on the fact that everyone just needs to fight. Everyone just needs to focus on their goals, focus on what's important and aim towards that. Forget the pettiness, forget the bullshit, forget forget the shit stirrers, gossipers, attention seekers, trolls.
Do you know what? I always work from, and it was in social work at one point, and it was in the education system at one point, the child-centred approach. The child is the centre. The adults around them are the ones that need to change.
Yeah.
You have to work with what you've got. Now, with a child with behaviour, you've got to understand where that behaviour comes from. And the way I understood it was I researched and studied attachment behaviours. I studied psychology. I studied all of the like autism, things like that. Whatever case I would get, I would look at the behaviour, I would observe it, I would try to make sense of it, and I would try to understand. And it's like what was driving that behaviour. Go back to the pregnancy of the mother. What was she going through at the time? What chemicals was she releasing into the baby at the time to cause that, how the brain's wiring up, you know, the chemicals that flood your body, stress chemicals or calm. I mean, everybody gets a bit of stress, but when it's overloading, when you're in domestic abuse, that can affect how the child is when they're born. And you think you've got a fractious child or a detached child. But it's that fight, flight, freeze response that is we're designed for self-preservation. So you would look at that behaviour, how far back that behaviour goes, and what was the trigger of that behaviour or a change in behaviour, what has changed in that child's life, what are the parents doing, what energies are they picking up, to understand the child. And it's about the people around that child changing to accommodate that behaviour. I'm not saying allow it, I'm saying find strategies to deal with it. And a parent is the expert on their child. So when they're not listening to the parent, they're losing so much expertise, because a parent certainly who takes, I'm not, there's a lot of abusive parents out there, and that's wrong.
There are.
You just got to stop that. So it's like, but even there, when you go back in the education system, right, the generation that's parents now, what the education system did to them over that process, family values, breaking down the community, breaking down the family unit, bringing in things like lowering the morals of people, basically, distorting the moral compass. Like the TV showing, like Geordie Shore, I always bring up Geordie Shore because it was making celebrity out of trashy behaviour, drug taking, drinking and sleeping around, and just like when I was at school, if somebody was sleeping with a boyfriend, we were like, but now it's like, oh God, if you're not, you're weird. Yeah, it's like, and now they're sexualising children in primary school, and I'm just like, no, please, no.
It's normalising pedophilia though as well, because if you look at how kids are being conditioned now, like young girls are being conditioned to do the makeup and the hair and make themselves, 14-year-olds make themselves look 21. I mean, when I first moved in round where I am at the minute, there was a 13-year-old, and I honestly thought she was in her 20s. I really did think she was in her 20s. And then you've got the boys being targeted in two different ways as well, because you've got the younger boys being promoted and conditioned and encouraged to wear dresses and heels and dance around. And before anyone says anything, there are shitloads of pictures of my son playing with makeup and trying to put my clothes on.
But it goes deeper than that. They're distorting the gender. I mean,
that's
right.
That's the point I'm getting
20 years ago, right? When if somebody had said to me, right, in 20 years' time, children won't know what gender they are, and I'm like, how can you not know, right? I'm not dismissing that there's some girls are more masculine and some boys are more feminine. I'm not dismissing that at all, right? In fact, the native Indians used to celebrate those because they were high energy and spirit, more in tune. So I'm not dismissing that, right? But don't confuse kids. It's, just look at your body. You know that you were born into a male body or a female body. Now, when they start giving kids drugs to stop them developing because they've decided, the guy on, what's that show called where they watch TV and they comment on it?
I think it's called Goggle Box, but I don't watch TV.
I don't watch TV, but my kids do. But I saw a clip it was actually on my phone, it was on YouTube or something. And the guy says, well, they must have been watching the thing about transgender. And he went, well, I wore a dress for a day. He says, I never thought I wanted to be a girl. He said it was quite pleasant, but I didn't want to be a girl. And that cracked me up. But and if somebody said to me 20 years ago, by this year, they're going to confuse children about what gender they are. I'm like, how can you do that?
I wouldn't have believed you.
Even last year. How is that even possible? And then you look at all the drugs that they've brought out, and no, it's serious shit. It's serious shit. I mean,
if that's all they're learning in schools as well,
just accept your body and who you are, and if you feel more feminine, it don't matter. But you just,
I was a tomboy.
Acknowledge your gender first.
I was a tomboy growing up. I always got along with the boys better than I did the girls.
Yeah, still do.
It was the same. It was one of them. I mean, I've joked around loads of times, and King took the piss saying, "Are you only jealous because my knob's bigger than yours?" and all the rest of it. And at time and point in mine, I've thought multiple times, I'd rather be a bloke. But I think that's part of life, because at the end of the day, it's curiosity. Everyone's curious, everyone wants to know. I mean, I still don't know what it'd feel like to be a bloke, so still in a rant every now and again I'll turn around and go, oh, I wish I was a bloody bloke.
Well, when they started pushing this agenda, right, the transgender agenda, I was still working for the council then, and it seemed like, well, when I was in the education bit, autism seemed to be, there was an epidemic of autism. I was like, how is that even possible when it was genetic prior to this, and this is where I link vaccines, I believe, but autism became an epidemic, and I was like, how is that even possible? And then when I was working in the youth, the transgender thing came up, and I even went on a training day in London about the transgender, and there was a head teacher talking about how this 7-year-old had, he was more feminine, so he decided he'd like to wear his princess dress for school, but he wasn't allowed to, but they decided that he could come back after the summer wearing the girls' uniform instead of the boys. Change his name. Sorry, I've got a cold.
I mean, that's why there's a difference. Like, people need to understand, because obviously I don't want
they were
everyone to get it
pushing
wrong.
that in primary school. Now, that was the start of it, promoting it. You know, I'm not saying let your child be whoever they want to be at home, but it's not up to the education system to get involved.
But this is one of the things I want everyone to understand as well. Is like, no one, like, obviously you look at, I've shown loads of pictures of my kids, and especially my son with putting makeup on, curling his hair, trying my clothes on, wearing my stuff, you're copying me. That's mimicking me, because that's what kids do. Monkey see, monkey do. So they'll
it's
stressful. Copy.
It's make believe.
But if someone if I then went out and only bought him girls' stuff, only gave him girls' toys, made him learn how to do makeup by watching makeup tutorials, and that's a whole completely different matter. And I know you agree with me on that as well. There's a whole difference between letting a kid learn, experiment, mimic, find themselves, and then finding them for them. Deciding their future for them.
Because if you the best advice I would give to any parent about how to play with a child is give them some toys, watch what they're interested in. Kids have an interest. I knew my older one was going to be a mother. I knew she wanted lots of kids. She played with dolls. She loved children, right? She went on to work with children, have children. The younger one, she's the artist. She went on to go to university and get a degree. And I knew from just watching this is where the expert is in the parent. You watch your child and you see what they're interested in. And if all you have to do to play with your child is sit there and let them involve you in the game. You don't even have to say anything or do anything. Most of the time they don't want you to do anything. They just when these parents start taking over, directing the play, that playtime is the only time that child gets to be free to be creative. Don't direct that play. Let them involve you in it. Or be there for them. Just sit there.
The best thing is that you can see as well. You can see how it links when you stand back and actually watch it. You can see how it links, because I can see how Liam went from going from his noisy toys to when he found his feet and he was walking around going through his noisy flashy toys. And then in the next stage he was going for his fire engines and his police cars, and then the next stage after that he's gone for his nurse stuff and his fire engines. And there's 6 now, and they got 2 there. I'm adamant that he's going to be a nurse in the fire brigade.
the sad thing is certainly be helping somebody, running somebody.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The sad thing is that parents are put under pressure now, because they're encouraging parents to most parents have to work anyway, putting them into the institution, to be institutionalised at the age of 2
kid as well,
or younger, in these nurseries or whatever. They're telling them before they've even left nursery that the child should be writing their name. These parents are stressed and pushed by the establishment to
disconnect themselves from
your child's got to be doing this before they go to school or whatever, and it's like, wait a minute, they all learn on different.
A lot of the time it's
all have different starts to life. They've all got different abilities, and if you're not letting that child play by developing their own creativity, you're limiting what their abilities are. So they can't take that into their future, and they're going to lose who they are. Like, you can see who they are from a very young age, and if you watch them, it's like they tell you so much. Even when their way of communicating before they can speak just because they can't speak to you doesn't mean they can't understand what you're saying.
Oh, 100%.
So when you observe that, when you don't take the child as just, you know, they're a person, they're just a little person, and when you just dismiss their abilities or ignore them or try to push them down a certain canal, you're losing that child and that's their aim, obviously.
I learned something along those lines as well when I was doing my child psychology and mental health in young people and everything like that. And I found a way of explaining it to adults, and they don't like it half the time, but I find it amusing because I can use 2 different languages.
Yeah.
It gives me a bit of a shock because I can randomly just turn around to someone and start speaking German and then go after that. Did you understand what I said? They went, no. I went, right, because you've got to learn it.
Yeah.
No one knows their language until someone else teaches them their language, so kids don't understand the language until they're taught it, until they learn it.
The first step is to understand how your child learns.
Mm-hmm. Plus they can teach you about yourselves as well, because at the end of the day,
so
they are the basic, right down to the basic forms of humanity.
They reflect back to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not pretty, and sometimes we parents blame the child for making us feel like that.
But it's a learning curve at the end of the day. Like they are, if you step back and look at them and take the personal aspect out of it and actually admire them for just the biological aspects of it, they are the basic forms of humanity. They are pure innocence.
Absolute gift.
They are, 100% are. And all the thing is, as well, kids are the easiest. Like I've been asked loads of times why I get along with kids and why kids get along with me, especially after what's happened. I say because it all comes down to the basics. The kids, all kids want is attention.
Yeah. You
can sit there with a child and just give them a bit of attention. The next day you'll notice they've learned something from that. You weren't even teaching them.
My friend works. She does the school dinners in a primary school, and some of them are tiny, right? And when I was at school, the dinner lady was the woman that you fought to hold her hand. I get to hold her hand today.
I'm still friends with my dinner lady from primary school.
Yeah, and like she said, all these little kids are coming up and hanging around her legs and that, and she's like, not allowed to touch you. I'm sorry. She's like, all right. And she said, you know what, they're little kids and you just want to go, are you all right? And give them a little hug back. And she said, they're just dying for it. And you're not allowed. You're not allowed. There's no contact at all. The basic human need is contact.
It was different when I was in school though. I mean, my old dinner lady, one of my old dinner ladies from from primary school, one of my dinner ladies from primary school, not seen us since primary school. Been high school, been Germany, been here, had kids. And then we reconnected and we'd known each other we met each other, we spoke to each other for a couple of months, and all of a sudden it just hit me, you've been to that primary school? I used to work there. Never. Yeah. That's where I know you from. You were my dinner lady. Yeah. And then she remembered the little ginger freckly kid that with the other group of kids as well, as you said, that come over and they want to talk to him because they're the only adults in the school that are there to educate you and to control you and to boss you around. They're the only ones there that you get a reputation with because you see them on a daily basis in a friendly setting and they ask you how you are.
The best behaviour support teacher I worked with, bless him, he's one of my angels, he used to, especially kids with attachment issues, that, you know, they're on, with attachment issues, you're on hyper alert. So some of these kids, you wonder why they can't concentrate in classes, because every little noise gets their attention. They're on, you know, it's like, what's going on? And then they start getting anxious and then they can't control the behaviour. Some of them will be under the desk and just hide away. Some of them are throwing the desk in the air and running out the class. And others just wait till they get home. They just want to be invisible and cussing. But that's what they get home and then they explode and the parents go, I can't understand it, he's not like that.
That's the problem with the education system as well, is kids understand different ways, especially if you've got kids with different needs to the other. Like there are loads of issues at the minute that needs that can be addressed, can be helped before reaching adulthood.
Hypersensitivity is one of the
I'm
just trying to get it on. Hypersensitivity is one of the biggest problems with these kids that can't concentrate. Either the acute hearing or they can't focus properly, or the lights are too bright because they're hypersensitive to the light.
And you got dyslexia and dyspraxia as well.
And so they're taught to look at the board, but as soon as they look down, they forgot what's on the board, so they're constantly and they get frustrated. And he was one of the best behaviour support teachers that I have a pleasure of working with. And he would gradually sit closer and closer, and he would just like sort of put his hand on the back of the chair, because he understood that the physical contact had to be built up to trust, but that's a basic need of a child, of a human, is to feel safe. And so once he got that trust built up and he could sit closer, he knew he was getting somewhere, and then he could help the child. But it's understanding the reason for the behaviour instead of just, he's a naughty child, he's dysfunctional, is this, is that, and isolated.
I don't believe that children are
punished,
naughty anyway. Children are age appropriate.
Punished, it's all child deficit, it's the problem with the child. Well, wait a minute, let's look at the environment, let's look at what, again, like I'm old enough to know that this generation of parents they've done a number on them so that they're not functioning like they could. My mum was an older parent.
We've not got a community to fall back on.
So,
either.
you know, everything was cooked from scratch. She managed a budget, God knows how she managed it with us kids, but she managed on basically nothing. But home baking, making our clothes, all the old skills that are dying out, all the old skills that they don't teach in school now. They still did when I was in school, but it's been phased out. All the creative studies have been phased out, and it's like parents need to be aware of what's happening to the children because they're turning them into robots in preparation for AI. You know, this is their ultimate goal, isn't it? And I know it sounds crazy, but they are all fucking crazy. They are psychopathic maniacs. Have these people that want this fucking AI world where you're part human, part. But you know, the kids now are going to accept it because even the adults are getting implants in, and kids are constantly attached to some sort of technology. So yeah, let's become half robot, and that's a new film out now, androids.
So the only good thing, well, I mean, there is a good thing obviously that I've seen, obviously since I met you that I've seen it, because you remember last year there weren't many of us that were awake. The protesting and everything that's going on now, it was nowhere near like this last year. Last year there was a couple here and there where a couple of people got together.
The focus has shifted, hasn't it, a little bit?
Yeah, everyone was focused on their individual causes, so no one was being listened to, because, I mean, if you've only got forced adoption, for example, for, only standing together, and no one else standing with them, then from the way it looks from the outside, well, it's only you saying that they're wrong. How come no one who's been targeting it isn't stood with you saying, well, actually, no, they're right, we're from the outside and it's there. This year, it's completely changed. The ball has shifted.
People are realising that they need to unite, they need to come together. Those people are the ones that see the divide and conquer that goes on. Those people are the ones that understand that the groups they're attaching to are focused on the children no matter what the situation. It's not just one aspect of abuse. Or, you know, I started out with, I was just going along to everything, and then I got involved with Justice for Women and Children, and we focused on the rapes. Tommy Robinson was around focusing on the grooming and all that, but we focused on child abuse and rape and you know, the stories that were coming in, and the issue in Sunderland at the time with all the rapes, and it did make a difference. The rapes, you know, I believe that the number of rapes drastically reduced since then, so it does make a difference when you hit the streets and you make a big fuss, because once you bring something into the light, people can see it, and when people can see it, they have to be more careful about what they do. So they have to withdraw back into the darkness, and the bigger the light, the more they have to withdraw, and that's what we hope to do, is like shine that light big enough to all those pedos and rapists and narcissists and, you know.
What would you say with, obviously with Unity,
sadists,
with Unity and with everyone obviously needing to pull together and to focus on what the main issue is, what would your advice be to narcissists that are trying to latch onto the cause, or narcissists that are trying to infiltrate, I don't know what to say, that are using the cause for their own means?
I wouldn't give a narcissist any advice, because
I mean anyone who's got a narcissist.
Alright, I was going to say the narcissist wouldn't take advice because they're always right, and it's always somebody else's fault.
Our side of it, like if a
narcissist gets exposed, they will attack anybody and everybody that they feel they can attack in order to take the light away from them and what's shining on what they're doing, and put it onto somebody else. So they will project like fucking crazy onto other people, and mostly those that are trying to maintain integrity. And like you always say, always in your mind is your kids are going to see what you've done, what your fight has been, and the wrongdoings, and that you've never give up, but you'll always keep your integrity because you don't want them to see you act in any other way because you want, you know, you have respect for your
for a
children and
reason.
what they're going to think of you. When other people try to discredit you behind the scenes, I mean, mostly they discredit themselves, because anybody that knows anybody that's genuine and they're fighting for the cause, for the good of all, not just for their own self-serving, it's to be of service to others. Because of their misery, they're finding a way to try and help other people, because that gives you some sense of self as well. It's like, I'm missing my kids, I can't have my kids, but what I can do is I can help other people going through the same, because I can understand on a level that they've operating on. And everybody deals with things differently, but you have an understanding and you have empathy for that. And you've found your fight from that cause. So anybody that tries to discredit you for their own means, or to defend what they're doing, or to project onto you because of jealousy or other things, or, you know, you can't do anything about those people because they'll just do that anyway. All you can do is ignore them. Refuse to have anything to do with them. So if anybody is in anybody's group that's trying to destroy it, or you know, I know there's people who I trust and who I don't trust, and I might try to say to somebody, just be wary of that person because I've observed or whatever, but they have the free will to decide, you know, for themselves. And I wouldn't say that lightly either. I'm not the sort of person that would, you know, I hate bitchiness.
You're not the only one, but I'm one of them though. If I'm around someone or something that could be putting me, and especially my kids, on the line, I think I deserve to have the right to know, to have the information to to either keep my eyes open or make my own opinion up on it.
I wouldn't engage with it at all. I wouldn't defend it. I wouldn't try to justify it. I wouldn't try to prove otherwise to what they're saying, right? Because you know your truth. The people that know you and important to you know your truth. Everybody else can go to fucking hell, basically, in a hand count. Because they don't need to be in. Yeah, they're trying to get to you. They're trying to get to other people, and some people will believe them. Some people won't. Some people won't even be interested. Some people will just think, you know, I'm not getting involved with the bitchiness. I'm going to walk away from this cause because it's got too bitchy, and that's what destroys us. And that's what people don't understand as well. Is that when you engage in that bitchiness, instead of just cutting that person out, people might say, well, you know, if you want to cut out the bad criticism, the comments, whatever, you're not giving everybody a voice. Well, no, what I'm trying to do is raise the vibration, to open people's eyes, shine a light on things. I don't need the negativity coming in and closing that down, or bringing a dark side to that, or a shadow over it. So I am going to cut you out, I am going to cut you off and delete you, block you, whatever I need to do, so that I'm not focused on you at all. What you say, what you think is your business, not mine, whether it's about me or not. All I'm going to do is carry on doing what I'm doing for the right reasons. And if it's the right reasons, then you don't let those people affect you. And that keeps you going, that keeps you strength, and that stops people breaking you down.
You can see it as well though when you step back and have a look at it from different people, like the man who cannot be named, like Melanie Shaw, like even Jimmy the Hat and yourself and Robbie and Joseph Blair.
People will always try to put a shadow of doubt in people's minds about Melanie Shaw. Oh, well, she did this, she did that. Oh, but they did this, they did that. They'll poke around in people's backgrounds because people are starting to listen and take notice of them. I have a rule of thumb, right, and I've had it for many years, that the people that are being promoted, especially by the mainstream, the people that are being protected and promoted, be very, very wary of those people. Don't listen to those people. They are working for the establishment, because you don't get promoted or publicity or you know, if you're not. Those that are being discredited, those that people are trying to shut down, silence, cut them off, discredit who they are, find some, you know, history. We've all got a history that we may not be proud of, every one of us, right? We've all got those closets, and it's how you deal with those skeletons in there that matters. And if you're happy to bring them out and go, well, you know, we live and learn, as long as you've learned, that is the main thing. We have to go through the shit to see the sunshine, you know what I mean? It's just how it is. Life's not easy, get used to it.
It's not going back to going into different languages as well, like you have to
the dark and the light, the yin, the yang, yeah. The hardest lessons you go through are the most valuable and the worth. I'm grateful for everything that's happened to me in my life, every single thing, because it's always led to something better or more, even if it's just an understanding of who I am and that self-love, that unconditional love that you can then generate if you believe in, you're doing the right thing for the good of all. And that is about changing things. And the more positive energy we put out there, which is why we all know the problem, we all need to focus on the solution. When people are causing the problem for shit fucking reason, right?
That's what it needs to be ignored.
Get out your own ass for a start and fucking look at the bigger picture. If you can't see the bigger picture, go back into your fucking hole and crawl back up your ass, because you're no good to anybody.
And the way I say it is, if you want to keep on going round in circles and you keep on going over things that have already been sorted and already been left
get
out,
over it.
whatever,
Today's a new day.
you carry on doing that. I'm going to carry on doing my path, because at the end of the day, we're all here for a reason. We've all got our focus, and like, to be blatantly honest, there's only 2 people in this whole world I give a shit about.
Yeah.
And that's my kids, and that's the same with everyone and their parents. That's the only thing they should, especially if you've lost them, should be the only thing you give a shit about, is creating their future, because
making sure that you can do whatever you can, even if you can't be there every day, what you can for their future to make it better. You know what I mean? For everybody's kids.
It's just finding a new way to be a parent. That's all it is. Because you've got parents who have got the kids at home. You've got
childhood is very brief as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gone in a flash, and
the way
if you maintain a relationship with a child, or have a contact or connection with a child, they're an adult for a lot longer, and that relationship's just as important as the relationship during the childhood. So you've got to hang on to that hope that you'll be reunited at some point and you can have that relationship that you've missed out on. But the thing is about the past is the past, and the only way the past is alive is if we keep it alive. What we remember or what we bring into our present day from the past is the past, right? But you can move on from that. The future is what we're trying to change. We're trying to, improve. We can see the fucking shit that's going on. We're sick of it. We want to change. We want things to, it's crazy. It's like the world's gone crazy. We just need to bring it back to sanity and moral, and
that's it.
balance the moral compass and
take it back down to morals and respect, and you get Britain.
And the thing is, the present is a gift, right? That's all you've got. In real terms, all you've got is right now. That's gone. That's not here. You can change what happens in the future, but all you've got is now. And what you do today, every day, is what matters. And if you put your goal up there in the future, right? This is what I want to achieve. I want to achieve normality. I want children to be children. I want them to be safe. I want them to be encouraged to be creative. I want people to have their skills acknowledged, and I want parents to be given the best skills that they can be given in order to be good parents, and for their children to have those skills, and for people to build a community and relationships back, and to have the values and believe what they want to believe, but with no harm to anybody else. It's that one love for all. It's like that. That's my future goal, right? It might seem like a long way off, but everything you do in every day, in every moment of every day, if that goal's in the future, you don't have to think about that goal all the time. You just have to do what you can do to be the change that you want. So then you're moving that goal forward. You know what I mean?
It's like you sometimes have to shift your perception as well. Like with my side of it, with shifting my perception of it, is my kids aren't here. At the end of the day, I've lost my kids' childhood. Even though they're still in it now, I've lost my kids' childhood. I can either dwell on the fact that I've lost their childhood, or just accept the fact that I can't fight for their childhood, I can't be in their childhood, but what I can for is I can fight for them to be a parent. Yeah. I don't care if they know that if they ever find out that was what my goal is, if they
But you knowing is enough, isn't it? You knowing that you've done what you can.
Knowing that they can be parents, knowing that they can take their kids home from the hospital, knowing that they can raise them, send them to school, put them in the first school uniform, which I never got to do with mine.
Because what you said is the kids in care are having the kids removed when they have kids because they've been in care.
At birth as well, so they won't even get the chance to bond with them, to take the whole...
You're not going to be a good parent. We've decided. We've not given you any skills or helped you along the way, but we've decided you're not going to be a good parent. So we're going to take your child and give him to somebody that's not the parent, who's not going to do the 100% best for them as a parent
Wash your hands at 18.
With the right skills. And it all boils down to the education. If we could educate on how to be a family and a community, there's all this, multiculture and all that. it's like, what is wrong
Britain
with having...
Britain is multicultural, though, that's the thing, but it's always been multicultural for as far as I can remember.
It was always...
And it worked.
Yeah. And but to try destroy a culture in order to enforce another culture, or to dilute that culture because you shouldn't have a culture of your own, you know, your own beliefs or your own communities. But it just seems to be the certain elements of society that are getting punished and really persecuted, isn't it?
Well, that's why we all need to stand together now more than ever. Like, now is not the time to be fighting and disagreeing. I mean, if we've got people in there that do just want to be in there for drama and action and all the rest of it, if they can't stay patient enough till the state actually kicks off the drama, and they just want to carry on going around in circles, and there's nothing we can do about that, unfortunately. But my rules has always been block and move on. They don't want to talk, they don't want to listen, they don't want to understand, they just want to shout, point fingers, play the blame game, and just be centre of whatever, centre of nothing at the end of it. They just need to be left behind, because we're fighting so many different battles in our personal lives and our campaign lives that no one knows what's going on. I wouldn't begin to assume what's going on in someone else's life, and I'd hope they'd give me the respect to think the same way on behalf of me. Obviously it's not the way they work, but it shows the importance of unity though and support, because if we hadn't have met and done all this and had been working with each other for a while, then obviously didn't have the same goals and same understanding and mutual respect for each other. If
I was going to a demo and I heard somebody that is you know, tried to sabotage me or attack me or whatever was going, or I didn't have respect or trust for that person, I would still go to that demo, and I would, because I think that like we got slated for certain people that have been in other groups, EDL or whatever, coming to support us. Now they have a right to support any group that is protecting women and children. Just because they've been in a far right group before. But I think at those stages, people joined those groups, they didn't know what else to do. They just see there was a problem and they got angry about it, and it was like, yes, we need to be with somebody who's going to do something about it. These groups aren't always accessible either, so you have to go through a few different channels, and sometimes you have to go through... And you're always going to get people jumping on the bandwagon and setting up the group, and they turn out to be narcissists, and it damages the other groups that aren't. Or you get good people not wanting to go to the demos because of the shit that's caused and the stirring up, and it's like, oh, you did that to you, and fucking grow up. It's high school. It's grow up. It's high school for people. You're either there because you care about the kids. You honestly don't understand how annoying it is when you're 24 and you just sat there looking at fucking messages from people older than you, looking at them like you need to go sit on the stairs and have 5 minutes silence because and don't turn up and get pissed and act like a dickhead when you're on a demo for kids. Yeah. Like, oh, that's not going to discredit. Like, it's an important message. And if you're going to turn up and be a turd, you know what I mean? It's like, well, what are you doing? What are you even doing here? You've come for, what, it's a festival or something? And it's the kick-off afterwards, when the entire campaign and everything goes to shit, then you get them kicking off because they don't want to admit they had a part, not obviously solely, but a part to play in it. And everyone had a part to play in it. And everyone admits their fault, apart from certain individuals who want to blame everyone else for their own actions, as well as everyone else's actions that they've already taken over, or making issues, or making things up regards that. Yeah, it's just it's the way I see it is a lot of them try and throw shit at the wall to see what sticks. Oh yeah, definitely. And looking from past experience with campaign and that, because obviously I've been in it for a bit now, but obviously nowhere near as long as everyone else, and I have too much respect for everyone who's been in it for ages. But I forgot what I was saying. Yeah. Well, it's just about not letting them destroy the groups, isn't it? So you just have to ignore it and just walk away from it. Do you know the parallel lives thing, where you know sliding doors or whatever? Yeah. It's like you don't. If I'm there and there's people, just stay away from them. If there's people that you like and trust, you can give them a heads up or whatever, you know this about that, whatever. But when people are doing it to cause shit or cause divide, to me it's just like, oh, mutual again, you're doing their job for them. You're doing their job for them by not sat there on the phone for ages going through, right, so I've got to block you now and I've got to block you now, because people focus on the bandwagon and don't want to look into it. They'd rather stay focused on infighting and causing drama and causing
shit within the groups instead of actually focusing on what it is that we're fighting. And the reality of it is, do you think anyone wants to be doing what you're doing?
I'd rather be just go back, well, not back to my old life really, but I'd just rather be sitting back and the real truth is the people that have been behind the scenes a long time will tell you the same, that they just want to go back to normal life. They just want to go back to not worrying about all this shit because things are sorted out, because people have come together, they've gone, no, this is our island, this is our culture, this is our right, these are our children, you know, we're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to keep taking all these rules and regulations thrown at us. We're not going to stand by and let you just waltz in a hospital and take a child because you've decided that you know, oh, well, you know, this kid's been abused, this kid's had, she's had medication for mental health problems that we give to her. You know what I mean? So there you go.
That's the other thing as well. They purposely put you in certain
systems
systems and NHS and mental health and everything so that they've got some shit that stinks.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Sorry,
listen, people, don't tell your doctor anything. Don't take medication for mental health problems. Find somebody that can help you with it because that's the best therapy. Go for a walk in the woods. Yes. It really helps. Don't allow a social worker over your doorstep. Don't even ask them for help. Find somebody that is helpful to help you. Don't go to them. Don't tell anybody at school anything because they'll tell on you. I had a parent, she was heavily pregnant at the time, right? She went to pick a kid up from school who was 6. He told in school that he'd been play fighting with his stepdad, and he went, my stepdad touched my willy, right? They've been play fighting. She got to the school, there was a social worker and a policeman waiting for her at the school. This woman's heavily pregnant. The dad then wasn't allowed at her place. The social workers were all over her, and it was just play. But you know what kids are like? It's like you found it funny.
It could have been like a contact with the arm or leg or anything. Because kids will just say.
So that straight away caused her stress during her pregnancy. The father couldn't be in the same house when the babies arrived because they had to investigate all this, and obviously it takes months and months and months. But she's just having a new baby. Well, I wonder why they're making such a big deal out of it. You know, where was the sense to go, oh, what do you mean? What happened exactly? They straight away jump on it as a red flag. Oh, you know, and this is what they're trained to do. You kind of can't blame them in a way because they're conditioned to think. Because all their training through the schools, through the health service, through everything, it's all focused on look out for abuse from the parent or the, you know, because that is their agenda to take as many children. It's big business.
They need
it's big
to
business.
take the kids.
There's a lot of money involved.
They only need a little report, a little explanation, like a little anything allegation or anything. And social workers phone up and make those allegations as well.
Yeah.
We've had multiple people come forward to us about it.
Yeah.
But I think my life's gonna have to go off because my phone's just gone debrightened.
Yeah.
So
anyway, it's been good chatting.
Alright, see you later, everybody. Otherwise, my battery's gonna die. Take care.